Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Hope everyone's doing well. It's 7 o'clock here on a Monday evening in the UK. Bear with me just for 2 seconds. I'm just having a look to double check that this stream has definitely gone live and that people are able to see. Does anyone in the chat? Gaz has said hello. Archie Balls has said hello. Good evening, chaps. Could you drop me a quick hello if this has come live so that I know to get started? Yeah, it looks good. It looks good. Jet says evening. Good evening, everyone. Cool. We're going to get into this. I'm on a slightly tighter timescale tonight. I only got about an hour, maybe an hour 15 if I'm lucky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by giving you a bit of a channel update, giving you a few opinions on things. I'll get my opinions out quickly at the start. Anyone who then wants to call in, there'll be the option to call in via Skype, so that's probably 10-15 minutes time. If people call in via Skype, we'll give the Skype callers priority, because I think it makes better viewing. If nobody calls in via Skype, or if only one person calls in, then we'll go to the chat. So that's how we'll do it tonight. Before we get into it, one thing I must announce, we did a competition on the channel for a signed copy of Ian John Lewis's book. The competition was to predict the winner and the correct scoring of the Bradley Skeete versus Sam Eggington fight. Now, the three judges scored it differently. I think one scored it 117, 111, one scored it 116, 112, one scored it 115, 113. So the obvious average score out of the three was 116, 112. So we're going to award the book to Craig, either Devani or Devani. I know Craig, I've spoken to Craig several times. So yeah, congratulations, Craig. You were the first person to predict the score of 116, 112 in the comments. To Bradley Skeete. So Craig, I know you've got my contacts anyway. Numerous ways of getting hold of me: Twitter, Facebook, email. I think you've got me on Facebook definitely. So yeah, just drop me a line with your address, contact details, and I'll get the book sent out to you. And I hope you enjoy it. It'll be a good read. Anyway, let's put that to one side for one evening. Got people in the room: Gaz, Archie, Jet, Terence Talbot. Terence Talbot says Khan is the best ever. TT, I've got a video you might like that's coming up tomorrow on Amir Khan's weight gain. Won't give too much away right now because I don't want to spoil the surprise. But yeah, you may not appreciate that one, Terence, but we'll see what we can do. Let me get into it. Before I start, I am going to start. I want to talk Billy Joe Saunders versus Max Bursak. Let me say, I am a massive Billy Joe Saunders fan. Tyson Fury is probably my favourite boxer. If you took Tyson Fury out of it, Billy Joe Saunders would be my definite favourite. I rate him really, really highly. I think he's a superb fighter. I really, really like his style. Like the way he took care of business with Eubanks. However, I try and be as even on this channel as possible. And I've got to say, despite the fact I do like Billy Joe Saunders, this is a very, very disappointing fight. And it's one of those occasions where the people around Billy Joe Saunders have raised expectations needlessly. Now, this is not dissimilar to when I criticised Hughie Fury, Peter Fury, and Team Fury in general for taking the fight with Nagy Aguilera. It's not dissimilar to that in any way. I wasn't expecting a huge fight for Billy Joe Saunders here. I was thinking he'd get an easy homecoming defence in, very, very easy, very routine, in order to set up a big summer fight, big money fight against either Gennady Golovkin or more likely Chris Eubank Jr. But on numerous videos with IFL TV, Frank Warren has made reference to a big fight for Billy Joe Saunders, and there's going to be a big announcement for Billy Joe Saunders, and he's going to be in against a good fighter. And to be honest, having had that build up, to hear Max Bursac is really uninspiring. It's a bit of a blow to Box Nation, this fight, let's be honest. It is a bit of a blow. Billy Joe Saunders, I think I'm right in saying, maybe their biggest star that they have as a channel. And this is hardly going to drive new subscribers to Box Nation. This is hardly going to make new people, casual fans, boxing, Anthony Joshua fans subscribe to Box Nation, a fight against Max Bursak. There were other rumours out there that he'd fight Hassan and Dam, that he would fight Austin Trout. Both of those seem like high risk, low reward type fights. Two tricky technical fighters who don't bring huge interest and huge fan support with them. But this fight, it's not high risk, low reward. But what it is low risk, low reward. And it's actually made worse by Frank Warren saying in a recent interview with IFL TV that he became aware of Bursak's availability because via Golovkin's promoters. It's kind of only highlighting the fact that this isn't a real fight. So if you haven't seen Max Bursak box before, let me introduce him to you briefly. Now, I have seen him fight several times. I wouldn't claim to be an expert on him. I haven't sat down and watched a load of his fights, but his record is 32 wins, 4 losses, 1 draw. So the 4 losses have come in decent company. Notably, he's lost to Martin Murray, he's lost to Jared Fletcher, he's lost to Hassan and Dam and Jikan. He's never been knocked out, so he's at least fairly durable, even though Murray and Dam, Fletcher, hardly the biggest punchers in the world. Of his 32 wins, 15 come by way of knockout, so he's not a devastating puncher. Bursak is a solid fighter at a certain level. He beat Nick Blackwell, he beat Brian Vera. He's capable in that sort of company. But the losses to Martin Murray, Jared Fletcher, Hassan and Dam, for me, show where he's at. Billy Joe Saunders, I'd make as a substantial favourite over Martin Murray. I'd make as a favourite over Hassan and Dam and Jikan. We know that Billy Joe stopped Jared Fletcher early in their fight. So, I don't look at Max Bursak and see anything overly scary. I think BoxRec have him rated as the 49th best super middleweight in the world. For this fight, he'll be dropping down to middleweight. He's a big guy. He's tough. He's durable. He's 31, so he's the right sort of age. But just in terms of skill level, I don't really see him holding a candle to Billy Joe Saunders. Spilling my beer all over myself. That's professional, isn't it? But seriously, like if I look at Max Bursak, he's a solid fighter. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's not particularly weak in one area or another, but he's just unexceptional. He's not someone who holds any fear factor. He's not someone who is hugely slick or has a hugely refined skill set. He's not someone who you could really see beating Billy Joe Saunders. I mean, he's not going to out-jab Billy. He's not going to out-move Billy. You wouldn't think he's got the punching power to trouble Billy Joe Saunders. And Billy Joe Saunders does look like he's piled on a few pounds in between fights, as is his standard way. But really, it's not a fight I can see Billy Joe Saunders losing. I'd make him a real substantial favourite in the fight. And for me, it's one that therefore only has very, very limited interest. And I think it's a missed opportunity. I think there could have been a better fight here that would drive more interest to Box Nation, personally. So let me know your thoughts on that. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on Saunders versus Bursak. There'll be people out there who've seen a bit more of Bursak than myself. So if that's you, please let us know what you think of the fight. Does anyone out there give Bursak a chance? Pete says, good evening, Pete. Jet has just uploaded a video discussing Khan and is talking Canelo's opponents. Good evening, Jacob. Gaz, I'm drinking a San Miguel tonight. Not my first choice. My brother came around and bought me a box of it. And yeah, I'm trying to save money, so I'm drinking that. Bulbul, hope I pronounced that correctly, says, hey there, good evening. Jacob, yes, San Miguel. Jet says it's a terrible fight. Yeah, I agree. Not excited for this one at all. Look, I'm going to get the Skype line open in 5-10 minutes. Before we get there, let me just talk about this weekend's fights briefly. I want to keep today's show a bit more focused in terms of topics, because I've got a few other videos that I'm planning to do tomorrow that I don't want to go into tonight because I want to address them separately and give them the time that they deserve. But yeah, let's talk this weekend's action. I'm interested to hear people's thoughts on what guys came out with credit. How do people rate Lucas Browne after his fight? How do people rate Luis Ortiz after his fight? And from a domestic sort of hardcore boxing perspective, how do people rate Bradley Skeete after this weekend? I thought it was three very impressive performances actually. Skeete, Lucas Browne, Luis Ortiz, incredibly different performances, but yeah, they really were all very, very impressive in their own way. So I think I've got about 22 people watching live. If you're one of those watching live, please hit the thumbs up button. Please press subscribe to the channel. Help me broadcast this message to a wider audience going forward. But yeah, if you're one of those 22 people watching, let's get involved in the chat. And let me know your thoughts on all the fights. Add me on Skype if you're watching. My Skype ID is boxing.gossip. Nice and easy, just boxing.gossip. As always with the live shows, I'm going to include the option for people to call in live on Skype. I can only take one caller at a time. And yeah, hopefully it'll make it more interesting than you guys just listening to me ranting at the screen. So get involved, add me on Skype, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'm gonna just upload the Skype now. Del Boy says he'd have no hesitation picking Ortiz against any heavyweight out there. He thinks he's that good. I wouldn't have Ortiz against Fury, Del Boy. I think Ortiz could get picked off from Reigns and wouldn't deal with the movement so well over longer rounds. Gaz said he said in the chat last week that Browne had a chance because he can crack a bit, and that turned out to be the winning factor. Yeah, fair play. I must admit, I wrote Lucas Browne off to an extent. Jacob says Ortiz looks a scary man, skilled, and that left hand is a killer. Absolutely. Jet says, I heard that. Oh, they're talking about Saunders versus Golovkin, but Jet says Browne looks really good. So yeah, guys, Skype is up and running. So if anyone wants to call in, and we'll get you on straight away. Jet, obviously, be good to get you on as well, as always. So yeah, give us a call if you guys are watching live. I'm just going to go into the chat, waiting for calls to come through. Terrence says it's a rubbish fight. He's referring to Saunders versus Bursac. But okay, as Billy Joe is okay to take a couple of cherries, he has to fight Triple G down the line, however. Jay doesn't like the fight. Jay says he wants Saunders fight down to summer. Do you know what? I was actually speaking to Ultratech Sports last night, not online, just privately. And we were talking about this, and he genuinely believes that Frank Warren is still going to make Eubank Saunders. He thinks despite all of Frank's chat, that fight has to be made. And yeah, I kind of agree with him, actually. He kind of got me convinced. I'm thinking realistically, there isn't a fight out there for either man that represents as good an opportunity or as much money. It's a winnable fight for both guys, so it kind of has to happen. So I wonder if that is what this fight is actually building up to. Jet says, can he call in? Definitely, Jet. Call in, we'll get you on straight away. Archie says Bursac hasn't got any KO losses on his record, could go the distance. Yeah, I agree with you. Davin says, told you Ortiz is the best. I still don't think he's the best. I think we're forgetting Tyson Fury, who just schooled Vladimir Klitschko quite quickly. Del Boy says, I've actually thought Blackwell beat Bursac. I remember that fight, Del Boy, and I can't tell you my scorecard off the top of my head, but I agree that it was extremely close and could have gone either way. Gaz makes a good point. He says he thinks Ortiz is small, to be honest, in the giant heavyweights. He is small. He didn't fight at super heavyweight in the amateurs. He fought at heavyweight, and he looked very small against Tony Thompson, which could be a relevant factor if he wants to fight the Tyson Furies of this world. YouTube says the Bursac voluntary is up there at one of the worst of all time. Yeah, it's not as bad as Liam Smith, Jimmy Kelly. I don't think it's that bad, but yeah, it's not exciting. Jacob says the timekeeping in Rush was horrendous. You have to worry for Wilder going over that. Fair point. Yeah, it was horrendous. Archie says, I've watched a few Charles Martin fights lately. He reminds me of a young Lennox Lewis. Anyone else think that, or just me? I think, to me, he reminds me of Tony Thompson, not Lennox Lewis. Dragon Ryder says, I fought Brooks, Kell Brook. I'm not hearing you there, Dragon Rider. You might try that one again, please, mate. Yeah, so Skype's on, guys. Anyone wants to call in on Skype or anyone watching, just add me, boxing.gossip, and you guys can call straight in. Until someone does that, if someone does that, I think Jet might try and call in. I will go with the chat. So Mr. Solitude says he doesn't rate Max Bursac at all. Yeah. I mean, let me know, guys, because as I say, I've only watched bits and bobs over him. How do you describe Max Bursac as a fighter? What does he bring to the table? What are his best attributes? Here's Jet. Good evening, Jet. How you doing?
Yeah, mate. I'm all right. You?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I'm good. I'm slightly underwhelmed by this news, though. Slightly underwhelmed.
Yeah, the Billy Joe Saunders news.
Yeah, I'm a huge Billy Joe Saunders fan, so it's a little bit of a disappointment, mate.
Yeah, no, I made a video like an hour ago or something like that about it. I actually saw it. I was watching. I heard rumours that he was fighting on April 30th, and then I heard it was Max Bursac, and I was like, oh, this is a terrible fight. He doesn't gain anything from it. Like, not a money fight, no recognition. I mean, he's topping the bill at the copper box, but you know, there's nothing major really. He's not. It's no win but no lose at the same time.
Yeah. Have you seen much of Bursac?
I saw obviously the fight against Nick Blackpool.
Yeah.
Was quite Martin Murray fight. I saw a bit of highlights of the Brian Vera fight, and I didn't really see much of the Ndam fight. But he looks like he reminds me of kind of a worse version of Kamitsky, if you understand what I mean. Like, Kamitsky can bang a bit, but Bursac doesn't have that sort of power.
Right.
He's very durable.
Yeah, I think Bursac beat Kamitsky, didn't he?
I'm not sure. I haven't got box record in front of me.
So. Yeah, no, I don't either. Well, how would you describe his style, though? Because, I mean, I can't think. What I'm just saying is, like, pretty ABC, quite solid, but really unspectacular. Is that fair?
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely fair. That he's just he does the basics really well. He'll come forward, you know. He'll eat the jab all night, I reckon, from Billy Joe.
Yeah.
He won't really do anything different. It's just typical come forward, try and pressure, and you know, try and like back his opponent into a corner. That's pretty much what he'll try and do. But I think Billy Joe is just too good for that. And I mean, even if he comes out and he comes on his weight drain, I'd still pick him to beat Bursac quite handily. That's just my opinion. But you know, it's bad matchmaking from Frank Warren, to be honest. It's really poor. I thought you'd put him in with Tommy Langford. That was another fighter that he might put him in. I think Langford was number 5 or 6 in the WBO rankings. So and he was undefeated. So I thought, yeah, that would be like a Jimmy Kelly, Liam Smith. But at least, you know, it'd be someone who's unbeaten, who might pose a test. Not Bursac, who's just, you know, there for the paycheck, really. It's not.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, there must have been a lot better opponents out there. When I was hearing, I got some tweets this morning about Austin Trout. A lot of people were talking. Who was the other one? Hassan and Dam. And I was thinking that those guys were very high risk for such low reward. I mean, both of those guys are real decent fighters. You know, and Bursac, as I said earlier, I know it's harsh, but he's low risk, low reward. I mean, he for me is. Now you said Sergei Kamitsky, he's that sort of type of guy, isn't he? And I just think that Billy Joe's going to school him, possibly win every round, you know?
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Billy Joe doesn't knock him out. He said he's looking for the knockout.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't knock him out, I wouldn't be surprised if it's 12-0 on the scorecards, to be honest. It is that much of a mismatch in terms of a world title fight. Billy Joe is so skilled, so slick. And I just don't understand why Frank Warren would put him in. As you said, it's even more embarrassing that K2. It's even more embarrassing that K2 actually told him he's available. You can have him if you want. That's even worse. Like, there's no support. You can't condone this sort of fight. It's embarrassing, to be honest.
It really is. What do you think is the plan for his summer then? Do you think he's going Golovkin or Eubank?
I really don't know, because today I was watching the presser actually, and it was with Owen McKenzie, Billy Joe, Frank Warren, and obviously Frank Warren was talking questions, and he said, "Listen, I don't want to talk about I don't want to talk about Chris Eubank Jr. anymore. His dad's a nightmare to deal with. That fight is never going to happen now. There's just too much headache in the negotiations, etc. But I don't know. Like, I mean, I'd even go out on a limb and say he'd probably get an Andy Lee rematch in the summer. Golovkin, he wants 4-5 million. That's not. Listen, he's not a pay-per-view fighter. Let's be honest. It doesn't matter how good Billy Joe is. He's not a pay-per-view fighter. Let's be honest. And he's not. You can't command that sort of 4-5 million purse if you're not a pay-per-view fighter. You're not, knocking big guys out over here. Max Bursak, it doesn't. I mean, if he was a big fighter, then yeah, 4-5 million is warranted. But he doesn't warrant that pay packet. So why is Golovkin and K2 going to come over here to fight Billy Joe when they have a Canelo fight, potential Canelo and Amir Khan, massive super fight potentially in the autumn? So I don't know where Billy Joe goes, honestly. Eubank, obviously, maybe Eubank is a bit more realistic, but even then, I can't see that fight at the moment. He's fighting for the British against Nick Blackwell, and even then, I don't know what he does after that, because he was mandatory to Danny Jacobs, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was.
I don't know what's happened with that now. So, I mean, even if he won that title, I know it would have been a regular title. At least it would have had some sort of value. So I really don't know. Billy Joe, it reminds me now, he's so good, but he's in a position that someone like Kell Brooks in. It's very, very similar if you look at it, to be fair.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the reason that Billy Joe is in a stronger position is because I know the Golovkin fight isn't overly appealing, but the Golovkin fight is at least there, whereas Kell Brook, I guess, doesn't have any fight there. I think he's got to go down the Chris Eubank Jr. route. I actually think that Frank Warren's main business these days is probably, I wonder if Box Nation is as big a business, if not a bigger business now, than Queensbury Promotions. And you've got to say that the idea of having Billy Joe Saunders versus Chris Eubank Jr. is just so massive for that business. Like, number one, they could launch Box Nation pay-per-view with it, or number two, it's just going to drive like bulk new subscribers to their channel. It's a huge fight for that channel, and I think they've got to do all in their power. And for Billy Joe Saunders, if he could take a chunk of money to fight Golovkin, or the same chunk of money to fight Chris Eubank Jr., he's got to take the Eubank Jr. fight, because it's an easier fight. He's been there, done that before. And I genuinely believe that with the interest in the UK, the Eubank Jr. fight may actually be a bigger fight than Golovkin, because I know Golovkin's a better fighter, but he's nowhere near as well known amongst the average British sports fan. And from Eubank Jr.'s perspective, he knows he can go in there against Billy Joe and have some success. Whereas Golovkin is such a sort of unknown and such a potentially damaging fight that at least there's some safety with Billy Joe. So I think it's got to be in both guys' best interest to try and set this up June, July, August. Yeah,
definitely agree. People are saying on the chat that GGG Saunders is pay-per-view. It is a pay-per-view fight, don't get me wrong, but Saunders versus Eubank is a better fight. One, domestically, and that for the UK is probably going to make the most amount of money for them. It's going to make the same amount of money for Saunders. And let's be fair, Saunders will be not a heavy favourite, but he'd be a favourite in most people's eyes with winning the world title, beating Andy Lee. And he's beat, everyone domestically. He's cleaned up domestically. And he'd be getting the same amount of money to potentially beat Chris Eubank Jr. than he would beating, he would maybe possibly losing to Golovkin. So, I mean, yeah, I agree. Frank Warren needs to put out his whole purse and get the Chris Eubank Jr. fight for Billy Joe Saunders, and that will cement Saunders as a legitimate top 3 middleweight. Because there might be people above him that people rate, but for me he's number 3 anyway. But it cements he's number 2, number 3, depending on if you count Canelo as a legitimate middleweight or not. We can move on and talk about Lucas Browne.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know you said Lucas Browne. You thought his performance was really, really good. How do you put him against some of the other maybe top 10, top 15 guys? And where do you rate him? Where you said you rate him outside top 10-ish?
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I've got to say is I've looked at a lot of the other YouTube channels' videos, and so many people have Chagaev ahead in that fight. Yeah, I don't see it. I think Lucas Browne was really, really doing a bit of a job on Chagaev, and I think whilst Chagaev did had him hurt, you know, I respect that, but I thought it was a far more impressive performance from Lucas Browne than people are letting on. And for me, I was more impressed by the way he was outboxing Chagaev than the actual knockout, because we always knew Lucas Browne was a very big guy who could hit very hard. What we didn't know is he could move like that and jab like that and, you know, make Chagaev miss like that. So, yeah, he did really, really impress me. As for where he stands previously, when I did my top 30 heavyweights, I think I had him just outside the top 30. I think he was either 30th or like 31st, 32nd, something like that. With this, I'd definitely move him up to the top 15. I'd need to sit down with like a pen and paper and get all geeky about it to work out where I'd actually have him. But my instinct is that performance would put him above the likes of a Bermain Stavern, above the likes of a Carlos Takam, possibly even above the likes of a sort of Bryant Jennings, and probably be enough for me to move Lucas Browne to number 9, number 10, something like that. What about yourself, Jet?
Yeah, I agree. Lucas Browne he looked in fantastic shape. I have to give him that. The work that Nigel Benn and his trainer done was fantastic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I was watching Box Talk yesterday, actually.
Oh yeah.
They actually had Chagaev winning. I didn't ask the scorecard. I was going to tweet them, but they had Chagaev winning, and I was actually like, I was a bit confused. I was like, I thought Browne was winning 2-3 rounds. I thought he was 2-3 rounds up. He looked really good in the fight, to be fair. And yeah, I understand. Chagaev, he hurt him in the 6th. That round went on a bit too long, but I don't know. It's Browne. He got hit a bit too much. I mean, especially by Chagaev. He looked out of shape for me anyway. But he looked really solid. I think he would give someone like Wilder a few problems, especially with his knockout power. Maybe even a good fight would be him against Povetkin or someone like that. They come forward. They can both box. They can. Well, Browne, as we know, he can move. So he has some good fights now. I know he's fighting Prezequendo next, but I'd expect him to win that fight and go on to face the winner of Ortiz, Ustinov / Fury Klitschko. So that would be another really good fight. I mean, hopefully he gets a voluntary after this, because these sort of fights, as we know, take time. Obviously, this WBA phony tournament.
Yeah. I believe he'll get a voluntary after the Oquendo fight.
Yeah.
And the rumour is that he'll try and get Oquendo in quite quickly. And then come September, October, he'll look to fight David Haye in a voluntary. Yeah. That's an interesting fight, isn't it? I must admit, my early instinct, and I hate to say this because Lucas Browne has made me a fan this weekend, but I've got to say my initial instinct is David Haye by murder in that fight. What do you think, Jet?
Yeah, no, I agree. David Haye has dynamite in his fists. I think Browne, he got caught too often. I mean, look, Chagaev, a good puncher, but he's not the puncher that David Haye is. And David Haye catches it. Browne's not getting back up. Let's be honest.
Yeah, so, and this is the thing. Like Chagaev is like, he's a good fighter. Chagaev. I'm not taking anything away from Lucas Browne, but Chagaev is a fat 5'11" guy who plods around a ring with very limited athleticism, and he was hitting Lucas Browne with massive power punches, you know, and you just think the athleticism and the skill of David Haye. I know he's a very different style, but to me, he is leagues above Chagaev in terms of punching power, speed, counter punching, and Chagaev was counter punching Lucas Browne a lot. You know, he was spotting the gaps, timing him, and landing on him. And the way David Haye can fight, you know, at the minute, I just think David Haye is going to have too much for Lucas Browne, and he's going to be able to hurt him and stop him. Yeah, I mean, do you give Browne a chance?
Chance, maybe a puncher's chance, let's be honest, but nothing more than that. I can't really see him outboxing David Haye. As I said, David Haye, dynamite in his fist. I go out on a limb and say he stops him within 5 rounds, to be honest.
Yeah.
Not because Browne seems like a genuinely nice guy. Like, I do feel bad. He made me a fan. And as you said, he also made me a fan as well. So, yeah, I give him a chance, a puncher's chance, but nothing more than that. I mean, even if he faced Luis Ortiz, I'd say Ortiz within 5 because Ortiz just looks a different class, like from Browne as well. So they're the same height, supposedly 6'4", big guys, stocky guys. You know, they can both box a bit, but Ortiz punches hard, fast. You know, southpaw stance. I mean, if Chagaev's, you know, hurting you and he's out of shape and whatnot, but you know, Ortiz is just going to knock him out. How good do you rate Luis Ortiz's performance against Tony Thompson?
Yeah, I thought he was very good. It was a real good performance. You know, Tony Thompson is an underrated fighter, but you know, you look at the guys who fought Tony Thompson. I mean, Kubrat Pulev. Most people consider Kubrat Pulev to be top 10 heavyweight. Kubrat Pulev struggled against Thompson and went the distance. You know, Carlos Takam, most people view him as a top 10 heavyweight. Thompson gave him a few issues and went the distance, you know, and so it continues. We know what Thompson did to Skeete. We know what he did to David Price. You know, Thompson's coming towards the end of his career now, but he's a tricky veteran. And yeah, for me, it was a real impressive performance from Luis Ortiz. Having said that, there were some slight concerns that crept in for me. I did feel Luis Ortiz, he did some things very well. I mean, the overhand left was very good. He carries dynamite in that straight left. He's a very good body puncher. He's a good chess player. But for me, sometimes he throws the same combination too much. He becomes a bit predictable. It's just a sort of double right jab looking to set up the straight left, and that becomes predictable. I also feel he could be susceptible to a bigger guy like Tony Thompson or like a Wilder, Fury, Vladimir, trying to pick him off with the jab a bit, because there were a few times Tony Thompson was getting through, and Thompson is such a slow guy that the fact he was getting through, and you know, he was having very limited success, don't get me wrong, but I just saw a few gaps that someone like Tyson Fury may be able to exploit. And I guess finally, the other thing that concerns me again is, you know, Luis Ortiz is an older guy. He's still not going rounds, and don't get me wrong, it's a good thing he's not going rounds because he's knocking people out. But I have real nagging concerns about his stamina. I really do. How do you rate him?
Yeah, I'd say top 5 for me.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree. His stamina concerns. And to be fair, he hasn't really been hit clean on the chin, so we don't know what his chin's like, to be honest.
Yeah.
He could, you know, it could be like if it doesn't happen and he gets caught cold, it could be like the same as Mike Perez against Povetkin. You just never know. Of course, I don't think that will happen, but we don't know this sort of stuff, so it's hard for us to rate him, saying look, he's going to beat Wilder, he's going to beat Klitschko, he's going to beat Povetkin. He's going to be all these sort of fighters, but we just don't know, because if it does go late in a fight, we have someone who can actually take his punches and take him later to a fight. Who knows what will happen? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I do rate him. I think he's a really good, solid operator, top 5 operator for me at heavyweight. But there's things that we don't know, and we have to wait and see. As you said, he's getting up there in age, so he needs to get cracking now, and he's fought 2 decent opponents on the bounce. So he needs to continue it. Golden Boy needs to put the money out and get into big fights.
Yeah. Archie is saying in the chat, Boxing Gossip, Thompson is a fighter's debut, surely. I can't agree with that, Archie. No. Like, look what he did to David Price and Skeete. You know, those were solid contenders or prospects anyway. Yeah, the next fight is against Ustinov, I believe. Obviously, another guy who's very tall. Ustinov, extremely durable opponent. Like, how do you see that fight going?
I think Ortiz will stop him, but he won't stop him early. I mean, Usynov's not, the fastest or You know, he's not fleet-footed or anything. So I don't think he'll the pace of the fight will necessarily be high. I mean, the good thing about the fight on the weekend was Luis Ortiz and Thompson, especially Thompson. He didn't push the pace or anything, so he didn't give Ortiz a chance to gas significantly. So if he was gassing, it wouldn't have been as noticeable as if he was pushing the pace consistently. So Yusuf, I don't think he's going to push the pace like that. And obviously, he's very, very limited in terms of his offense. So I could see Ortiz stopping him late, possibly 9 or 10, but I don't think he gives him that many problems, to be honest. That's just my opinion. How do you think that one goes?
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, actually. Funnily enough, I think Yusuf is a not dissimilar fighter to Tony Thompson, but I don't think he's as tricky. He's not southpaw, you know, he's not as sort of awkward and veteran in there. But yeah, he's a tall guy. He's become very slow. He was actually a bit more dynamic in his early days, but he's become quite slow, fights behind the jab. I do think potentially he can give Luis Ortiz problems if he tries to jab and move and use his size. The other thing is his chin. You know, his chin's looked very good. I think he went 10 or 11 with Pulev before quitting on his stool, just because he was getting beaten up in that fight. But you know, he looks like a very tough big man. It'd be interesting to see how his chin holds up against Luis Ortiz. I don't really see him having the offensive capability to beat Ortiz, though. He's just one of those guys. I don't think he's got enough snap to his work and enough power and enough combinations and, you know, hurting his work to actually to beat Ortiz at this stage, I must admit.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Let's move on. Bradley Skeete. What do you think his level is in terms of, do you think he could become world champion? I personally don't think he can, but what are your thoughts on it?
I think he could become a world champion, but well, let me rephrase that. There are worse people who get to world champion than Bradley Skeete, but I don't think in the context of today's welterweight division, you know, Pacquiao, Bradley, Brook, you know, Marquez, Furman, Porter, Garcia, exactly. I don't think against those names he can realistically become a world champion. I do think he is a real high skill fighter. But the truth is, no matter how high I rate him, we have to admit that Frankie Gavin took multiple rounds of him. You know, I know Frankie Gavin, the fight was controversial, but yeah, Frankie Gavin took multiple rounds of him. And yeah, Frankie Gavin got destroyed by Brook. Similarly, Sam Eggington, I think Sam Eggington is bang average. And you know, you've got to admit Eggington took 3 or 4 rounds of Skeet. And I just think that Eggington would get destroyed in 30 seconds against the Kell Brook, so it's kind of hard to measure Skeet right now. But I certainly think he is an underrated fighter, and I think that he's going to be European level at least. What do you think his upside is?
No, I mentioned in the video. I think he can reach like fringe world level. He could be like a Chris Algieri sort of level. I think he might lose to someone like that.
Yeah.
Just due to sheer experience or something like that. But he could definitely beat the Franco Bundu winner. The thing is, with Frank Warren, he hasn't pushed him. The Frankie Gavin fight, obviously, he lost. Probably thought he won that fight. That was my opinion on it. Of course, this is his most significant fight since the Gavin loss. He's been fighting in open arena, not even open arenas like shopping malls and that sort of stuff. So Frank Warren hasn't really pushed him. And if Frank knows something I don't know, then maybe yeah. He's a really skilled fighter again, but as you said, I took into consideration the Gavin fight, also the Eggington fight. Even against Eggington, he got caught. If he was such a slick operator, he got caught a fair few times. He shouldn't be caught by Sam Eggington with no head movement and just coming forward and floating forward. So I think at world level, if he does step up to world level, or even a fringe world level, he will find it hard. Especially he doesn't have the natural pop in his punches. So I find it hard to say he's going to be. There has been worse world champions, definitely, I agree. But in the context of, as you said, in the context of today's welterweight division, I don't see him winning a world title unless it's vacant and it's against a white type of opponent.
Yeah,
possibly I can see it, but that's the thing. I mean, after the fight, Eddie Hearn actually said Eggington was in line to face the Branko Bundu winner. So I don't actually know what Frank's doing with him. Don't know if he's going to go out and defend his British and Commonwealth belts, or he's going to move up in levels, or that's the thing. I don't know. On that note, what do you think of Eddie Hearn pushing his fighters, or Frank Warren pushing his fighters? Who do you think the more calculated promoter is in that respect?
Funnily enough, I was just discussing this on the phone last night with Ultra Tech Sports. We actually discussed that exact point just offline, and he raised a good point, which I agree with, which is that I think Frank Warren is slightly old school. You know, he goes sort of Southern area, English, British Commonwealth, Euro, and he builds a fighter that way, and that can be real good. I mean, look at Billy Joe Saunders, for example. You know, he built him to absolute perfection and made him into the fighter he is today. But it can also mean careers getting slightly stalled and things taking too long to develop. And I think Bradley Skeete is a prime example of that. I mean, there's an argument that Bradley Skeete is an undefeated fighter. There's an argument he beat Frankie Gavin. You know, yet Frankie Gavin went and headlined the pay-per-view fight for a world title straight after. And then you look at Eggington. You know, Skeete just absolutely schooled Eggington. You know, taught him a lesson. And yet Eggington's going to go potentially straight into a European title fight. Whereas Bradley Skeete is, you know, what's he going to do? Going back to fighting at York Hall? You know, it must be frustrating for him. I think part of Skeete's problem is because he's not going to appeal to the casual market with his style. There's limited investment in him, and there's limited opportunity to put money into him. But he's a real skilled fighter, and he deserves a bit of a push. I mean, as for Sam Eggington fighting for the European title, I think that's an absolute joke. I mean, Barry Hearn was a bit harsh. I don't know if you saw that. I'll ask you about that in just a second. But Eggington is basic, man. You know, this guy is, I don't know what people see in him. I think his power is massively overrated. He's got no defense. He's got very limited boxing technique. I do not see what people see in him. But what do you make of the Barry Hearn comments?
That was harsh, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Barry Hearn should know. He's an educated guy. He's old, as in terms of he's got experience, and this has happened to loads of fighters. But I mean, look, Eggington is 22. He's young. He can tweak his style, come back. First 4 rounds, I thought Eggington done pretty decent. Had a bit of head movement. He wasn't plodding. You know, he done some things differently. After the 3rd and 4th round, Skeete just absolutely annihilated him. He just embarrassed him. I think it was in the 6th or 7th. He just dropped his hands completely, and he was just slipping punches, and it was just really embarrassing like that. But I mean, for Barry, I mean, there's no need for him to say that. Even Eddie said, Eddie's like, he's young, he'll come back. He hasn't hit his man strength yet. You know, I understand. Maybe he's looking at it from a business perspective, saying, you know, Sam Eggington lost. That's the Birmingham show and whatever done. So we have no sort of main attraction in Birmingham, if you understand what I mean.
Yeah.
I mean, the Five brothers, but they're not the biggest of draws, and they're at a smaller weight class in Super Bantam with Gamal and Super Fly with Cal. But I mean, it's that you don't want to see that in boxing. Let's put it that way. It's the equivalent of Frank Warren saying to Derek Chisora, you know, he's lost one fight and then he hadn't dropped him, and he kept Chisora for a long time, as we know. And he said, Chisora, you're rubbish, blah blah. It's the same thing. You can't really do that. He should. It just then to fighters' confidence over time as well, like your own promotional team having a dig at you, slide digs at you, and loads of people seeing it. It's not really right. You don't want to see that in boxing, do you?
No, I don't understand what they were thinking, to be honest. Like, Barry and Eddie Hearn are very, very bright guys. They're a lot brighter than I am, and they know a lot more about boxing than I'll ever do. But what I would say is, the way they were talking about Sam Eggington, it sounded like they genuinely thought he was going to go on to be a world-class fighter. I don't know what they were watching. Every time I've seen this guy, I thought he looked, real basic. I mean, I don't know what they thought they see in him. I thought, to be honest, he did a lot better than I expected in that fight.
Yeah. The thing is, when you're a promoter like them, obviously they've got money, they know the stuff. Fair enough, but your judgment is clouded, if you know what I mean. When they think, oh look, this person, he's won a few fights and he's come back the hard way. Yeah, fair enough. They think, oh, Sam Eggington's going to be, European world champion. But it's hard to look at it from our perspective as just pure fans and just go, he's never going to be a world level fighter. I mean, all the champions, Thurman would probably KO him in like the first or second round. Same with Brooke. Garcia would time him well in the second or third. And then if Bradley doesn't have much power, but he would knock him out even late or just run circles around him. It's embarrassing. I mean, I know he doesn't hold the WBO belt anymore, Bradley. It was Jesse Vargas now because he beat Saddam Ali. That was another good fight, actually.
Yeah, I still haven't seen that one, actually. I know he knocked Saddam Ali out. I said previously that I sided to Vargas in that fight just based on big fight experience. And I think maybe that showed, maybe Saddam Ali needed another fight in the interim. But I presume you watched the fight, did you?
Yeah, I did watch the fight.
What did you make of it?
First round was actually really good. Saddam Ali came out boxed, used some decent combinations, moved around decently, kept Vargas off him. After that round, Vargas just came like a bull in a china shop, but he was very effective. The way he came forward, it was pressure, but the way he came forward, he was, he was bobbing, weaving, coming in at different angles. He looked really, really good. I don't rate Vargas. I said in a video, sorry. I said I don't rate Vargas. Thought he was bang average. He was a regular WBA champion at 140. Didn't think he was decent. Didn't think he was good. And I think he actually beat a top-ranked fighter, but he lost or something. He beat someone, but he lost convincingly, like 8-4, and he got a robbery decision on the scorecards. But and he's not a big puncher as well. And Saddam Ali, every time Vargas hit him with a power shot, Saddam Ali didn't like it. He winced every time. He just didn't like it. And every time Ali would come back with something decent, Jesse Vargas had a better answer for it, if I'm honest. And he obliterated him. He looked really good, to be fair. He looked like a top 5 welterweight, but for me, he's not even a top 10.
No way.
That performance, he looked really good, but definitely for me, he's not top 10. Saddam Ali hasn't got the experience, maybe doesn't have the punch resistance. So there's a lot of he definitely doesn't have experience. So we don't know how good Vargas is or not. Bob Arum said he wants to put him in with the Pacquiao Bradley winner, but I think he'd lose to Bradley again. Pacquiao, is schooling, so even though Pacquiao's at the twilight of his career. So I mean, that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't want to see that fight again. Anyway, Jet, I must crack on, mate. But thank you very, very much indeed for calling in. Much appreciated.
Yeah, mate. We could do a video maybe next week or something if you're up for it.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm away this weekend. Actually, I'm not going to be able to watch the boxing this weekend, unfortunately, because I'm away with the missus.
Good matches.
I know. I'll have to catch up with it, but I'm back like Monday night. So maybe like. I think I'm busy Tuesday, but either Monday or Wednesday next week if you're about, mate.
Yeah, I'll give you a shout on Twitter, mate.
Yeah, let's do it. Cheers, Jet. Have a good one.
Take care, buddy.
Cheers, mate. Thanks very much to Jet, as always, for calling in. To anyone who is watching this, either live or watching it later, Jet has got a very, very good YouTube channel called the Boxing Discussions channel. Boxing Discussions. I've watched the number of his recent videos actually, and some good stuff he's talking about. So if you like what I'm doing, there's a decent chance you'll like what Jet's doing. So do check him out. And add him on the boxing discussions channel. So thanks very much to Jet for calling in. We're going to keep it rolling. If anyone else wants to call in, Skype is up and running. So give me a shout on Skype, or if you're watching, add me on Skype, boxing.gossip, and we can get you up and running. In the interim, we'll go to the chat. I'm keen to discuss Saunders, Bursak, Lucas Browne, Luis Ortiz, Bradley Skeet. Keep it rolling. Let's have a look. Matt Berry, Parker versus Browne would be pretty awesome. Would be a very, very good fight. That very good fight. I heard Parker coming out in the press today saying destroy Browne. Jacob says, what's the one heavyweight fight you would like to make? For me, it's going to be Fury Wilder. That's highly exciting. Escobete, hello Escobete, hope you're doing well, mate. He says Jet's a nice guy too. Jet is a very nice guy. Shane Williams says easy fight for Parker. I'm not so sure it's an easy fight for Parker. The improvements Browne, I would have agreed with you previously saying, but the improvements Browne showed were remarkable, I must say. Terence says you can't watch the boxing because you're away with the missus. You make it sound like a chore. Yeah, well, this is the thing, Terence. I would happily spend all day, every day at home watching boxing and never doing anything with the family or the girlfriend. But you gotta put yourself in a position where you can get on in later life, I guess. Archie says, can't believe I never placed money on Connor and Holly getting beaten. Yeah. Some good value there, I'm sure. I want a few quid on Bradley Skeet this week. How Bradley Skeet was not the favourite in that fight, I will never know. Jet says thanks to Escobete, he appreciates it. Hacker time, Parker needs to get relevant. He certainly needs to fight someone relevant, I think, but he's doing that in Carlos Takam, to be fair to him. RT says Fury versus Anthony Joshua. That's a great start. Would be an amazing fight. Davin says Browne versus Del Boy. Browne would knock him out. Yeah, I think based on last night's performance, you'd have to say Browne would definitely beat Derek Chisora. Chisora's a tough guy, though. YouTube, I bet Warren was knocking one out when he saw Skeet win in the Box Nation sorts. Well, to be fair to Frank Warren, fair play to him. Sam's Alleyway says, wouldn't Browne Parker be a big fight in Australia and New Zealand? He must be massively. Rob has joined in. Good evening, Rob. Hope you're doing well. Escobete says Browne versus Parker would be very, very big down here. Jet says Julian Williams won his final eliminator, mandatory for Charlo. Yeah, I've heard quite a bit about Julian Williams. This is the guy who goes by the name J-Rock, isn't he? I watched the Boxing Voice and I'm a big fan of that, and I've heard him on there a few times. Haven't actually seen the fight though, so I need to check it out before assessing how he did against Charlo. I'm still catching up on bits. Jacob says Browne's skill set vastly improved. He was jabbing and pivoting. Yeah, he was doing some advanced stuff in there though. He was leading with the right hand. He was throwing an uppercut. I saw him go to the body a few times. He was making Chagaev miss a bit. Unfortunately, his defensive problem is huge. Sam says, your thoughts on Barry Hearn throwing Eggington under the bus in the IFL TV interview? Yeah, that was very, very harsh. Didn't like it. Thought it was needless. And I think, what happened was obvious. It was always going to happen. Eggington was in no way prepared and no way had the skill set to step in with a guy like Bradley Skeet. It was a case of them overestimating him and him underperforming as a result. Gal says Browne versus Hughie Fury. For me, Hughie Fury, Hughie Fury is so fundamentally sound. I just think he could outbox Browne. I think he could do to Browne similar to what he did to Rudenko, actually. Rob says Skeet reminds me of the Gale a bit. Oh, he goes to sleep mid-rounds, doesn't work enough. Yeah, no, I see that. He's a low volume guy. For me though, I view the Gale as lazy, whereas I just view Skeet as very tentative. Body shots hurt. What does Frampton? Who does Frampton have a better chance with? Cruz or Selby? Oh, Cruz. They're both very tough fights. I don't think at this stage I'd make him a favourite for either fight, actually. But I think against Santa Cruz, there's a higher chance he can outbox him. Jet, not sure if you heard what Selby said about Frampton, saying he outboxed Frampton. What are your thoughts? Yeah, I think there's strong scope Selby could outbox Frampton, actually. I think he could use his length and cause him a bit of bother. I think Selby has real good boxing skills. Davin, I think Hughie Fury is overrated, but hope I'm wrong. Do you know what? Hughie hasn't fought great opposition, but I haven't seen, apart from a slight lack of power, I haven't seen a single technical frailty or weakness in Hughie Fury. Jet says Carl loses to both. Body shots hurt. Carl loses to both Santa Cruz and Selby. I'd make them both favourites, Jet. Yeah. YouTube. Eddie admitted he advised Sam to go European route, but Sam demanded the Skeet fight. Yeah, I must admit, look, we like to see these kind of fights getting made. But from a pure business perspective, that fight didn't overly make sense to me. Skeet mustn't have been huge money and was a very tough fight. Davin says AJ knocks Hughie Fury out. Maybe. Archie says, I know you can't teach old dogs new tricks, but Browne needs to work on his defence in a major way. I'd avoid Hay if I was Browne. Yeah, you'd have to say that. Having said that, though, Browne's an older guy. He needs to start earning some serious money, so he needs some big fights. Rob says, the Gale still has that chunky mentality. What level do you think Skeet gets to? I'd say European, Rob. I think the division is too stacked for him to get to world level at 147. But for me, he's above British level now, Skeet, and we'll clean up at British level. First happy, last beat. So Saunders IFL TV interview was funny, saying Coogan is up Eddie's arse. I need to check that. Haven't seen it yet. Davin says Furies don't fight a lot. He's got a fight coming up in March against Nagy Aguilera. Sam says, your thoughts on the F5 brothers? Both of them put in very good performances. They're both very sound. For me, both of them are overrated punchers. I know they both look like big punchers this weekend. They're quite snappy fighters. I'd need to see them both step up in level, really. I'm unconvinced about the caliber either guy beat, but they did it very well. Fair play to them. For some reason, maybe it's the weight classes, maybe it's just the fact that they don't seem to have a lot of charisma, but I just am yet to get excited by them. But yeah, they both perform with credit, I must say, and they could go places. I don't know whether Eddie's going to abandon Birmingham now that Macklin's on the scrap heap, and Sam Eggington might be on the scrap heap as well. Jet says, how good do you think the card is this Saturday? Yes, a good card. It's a real boxing fans card, actually. I'm frustrated to be missing it, but I'll catch up on it. Bruce Wayne, Hughie doesn't have a good straight right, but neither is Tyson. YouTube says Selby going to the Odyssey or outdoor Belfast fight would be electric. Yeah, would be a good fight, certainly. I'm not sure Frampton will go down that route personally. Davin, how many fights has Tyson had in the last few years? Not many. Yeah, but you've got to remember, a lot of those are not his fault. He had a pullout from Chisora, 2 pullouts from David Hay, postponement from Vladimir. A lot of time has been wasted in his career, but not necessarily at Tyson's fault. Hackertime says, he saw an interview. Browne says he needs to make money now, so you're right, boxing gossip. Big fights next for Browne. Correct. I really think so. Body shots hurt. What type level of opponent should Hughie Fury fight this year? Well, assuming he gets past Nagy Aguilera, which I think he will do, I'd like to see him step up in level slightly. Ustinov, Dimitrenko, Tony Thompson. I think those sort of guys are all solid enough tests for Hughie towards the end of the year. There's no need to rush him. He's only 21. He's still a baby. Del Boy says he likes the Aguilera fight for Hughie. He's a capable journeyman. He gave Washington all he could handle. Yeah, fair play, Del Boy. It's not a bad fight. I think Peter Fury just raised expectations too much by saying what a good fight it was going to be, and that disappointed people. Gaz says Hay doesn't deserve any voluntary slots. He needs to earn his way. I get that, but the thing is, Gaz, David Hay is a huge draw. And when you're a huge draw, you bring pay-per-view sales, you bring ticket sales, you bring money, you bring glamour, and you bring the chance to become a superstar. And that's why, for me, he does deserve voluntary shots. Because if Browne gives him a voluntary shot and beats him, Browne's going to be wealthy, and his profile's going to be raised to a new level. And that's what a fighter like Lucas Browne at his age wants. Here we are. Shane Williams said he heard Prince Patel struggle in his fight and was lucky to get a draw. That's true, he was dropped. Skeete says, do you think Parker should keep his mouth zipped up about all the call-outs? I think Parker kind of has to, because he needs to put his name into this mix. You know, he's kind of gone under the radar slightly because of the low level of opposition, and he probably wants to put his name out there. Davin says Huey should fight Dillian White. It'll be a big fight, that. I think Dillian White needs a few comeback fights first. Jet says Gerald Washington's bang up average. He lost to Mansour. Agreed. Yeah, don't rate Washington. It's the same that Oscar Rivers fight was cancelled. YouTube says on Boxrec, Huey's 47, Aguilera's 48. Looks decent. Aguilera's very beatable. You know, he is a journeyman type. He's a high-class journeyman, don't get me wrong. But if you look at Aguilera's record, he loses when he steps up in class, typically. He's had one or two upsets, but typically he loses. Huey, he's 47 because he hasn't fought the level of opposition. He's only 21. If you look at Huey versus Andre Rudenko, you can see that Huey is a class above Aguilera for me. First happy last feat. What are your thoughts on Luke Campbell? I was at the weigh-in for Luke Campbell's last fight and spoke to him afterwards. I believe he was terribly weight drained, which caused him to put in such a terrible performance. Campbell's big for a lightweight. He needs to take making weight professionally. He needs to take it seriously. I do believe if he can get over that issue, he does have the skill set to go on to be world championship level. Jet says it's not Parker, more Duco forcing him to call people out. And Kiwi agrees that it's all Duco. Matt says Parker himself doesn't talk trash much, it's his team. Escabete says could be right. Let's load up the chat. Struggling to keep up with all the chat here. Davin says skill pays the bills. They do. Jet says Warrington versus Amagassa. More tricky than people think. Amagassa being huge could keep Josh at bay. I agree. Amagassa is decent. He's a big fighter, tall, rangy, and Warrington, as I say, he's not impressed me. Could be kept at range, could be outboxed from range for me. Jacob says Parker needs to focus on Takam. Archie says I think Huey will be in his high 20s fight before he fights a world level fighter. Poor bugger. Yeah, I think there's no issue there if he doesn't fight a world level fighter until he's 23, 24. Davin says Huey needs to step up soon. He's already had 18 fights. Yeah, but it's not really about, he's 21 years old. You know, to be fighting that Andre Rudenko at 20 years old, I don't think he needs to be rushed. I think there's too much urge to rush him. Gaz says Washington is just a big jump. He even makes big lump. Sorry, makes Wilder look like a technical genius. Sam said, why did Eddie say Luke makes the weight relatively easy on Twitter before that fight? I don't know. I was out the way, and as I say, I was standing 6 foot away from Luke Campbell trying to make weight. I'm not even sure he actually made weight for that fight. And afterwards, I was speaking to him, and he was literally downing a bottle of water trying to rehydrate. He looked in a terrible way, I must say. But that was just my eyes, you know. Rob says that Huey has plenty of time. YouTube says Warrington beating Amagassa would be a big statement. First happy last feat. Why do people write Hay off? It's still a great fight for the top 10 fighters. I agree. People don't like his attitude, but David A is a good fighter. Davin says Huey Fury only fights maybe twice in a year. Well, he's 21 and has 18 fights, so I think that's not right, I'm afraid, on that occasion. Jet says Warrington's a ticket seller, but he gets murdered against the featherweight champs. Agree. Del Boy says he's not sold on Parker. He's exciting, but looks vulnerable in the exchanges. He fights with his chin in the air too much. Those are fair criticisms. Those were really exposed when he fought Southpaw last time out as well. Body shots hurt. Considering AJ's star potential, shouldn't he fight in the States, specifically New York City? The thing is he's such a huge pay-per-view seller in the UK already that they don't want to mess with that. Why travel abroad when he can sell 500 pay-per-views and 20,000 tickets fighting for the British title? Also, and I don't know the play on this, but Joshua's got a criminal record, so I don't know how easy it would be for him to fight in the States. Davin says Mike Tyson had 15 fights in 1 year. Yeah, he did, but so what? Kiwi says, don't underestimate. I mean, Huey Fury had 13, 14 fights in his first year, didn't he, Davin? Something like that. It's actually not incomparable. Kiwi says, don't underestimate the New Zealand Aussie sporting rivalry. Parker Browne could well happen. The viewing down here would be huge. Yeah. I'm sure it could happen. It's would generate big interest. Sam says, how do you think Luke would do at 140? He'd need to work his way up and take a few fights in. Luke's got a very baby-faced guy, but he's older than he looks, and it may be as he gets older, it will be a better weight class for him. Gaz says AJ won't ever fight outside the UK when he's with Matchroom. Matt says, I think we may see a new Parker when he fights to Cam. Well, we're going to need to see an all-time best to Cam. Jet, thoughts on Amir Khan in his recent weight gain? There's a video coming on that, Jet. I won't spoil the surprise now. Sam says, when is David Haye announcing his next opponent? Who knows? Very odd they haven't done it yet. Archie, Billy Joe targeting stadium fight with Golovkin after his first defense. Can't see that. No, I can't see it either. I reckon it's going to be the Eubank crew. Rob says, have you got Flanagan to beat Matthews? I certainly do. Anytime says, I've followed both Campbell and Ahara Davis in our first fight. I honestly see nothing but Ahara stopping him. Ahara Davis is a good fighter. You know, he's not being talked about in the same light as Luke Campbell, but maybe. YouTube says, Hay will be announcing within a week. Davin says, Khan is 2 weeks. Jacob says, Joshua will make less money in America. Yes, I agree. Jet says, Luke hasn't adapted well into the pro ranks. Not 140 yet. 135 if he can make weight will be good. Archie Balls, KFC's boxing discussions. Davin says AJ is Matchroom's cash cow. First happy last feat. If Ivan Mendy gave Luke Campbell a wake-up call to real pro boxing, it was better early in his career. Boxing discussions says, yes, mate, I agree. He talks a bit much for that. And Sam says, look at the Khan and Homer Simpson comparisons. Guys, I've got to shoot, I'm afraid. We've been live for 70 minutes. We've got some good chat, bit back and forth. It's a shame that only Jet called in tonight. Don't get me wrong, great that Jet did call in, but I'd like to get more people calling in. So help me spread the word, like the video, subscribe to the channel. It will really help to broadcast this to a wider audience. And that will allow me to get new people watching, new people calling in. If you're watching this, do add me on Skype, boxing.gossip, and next time we're live, you can call in. I've really enjoyed it, guys. I hope everyone who's watched it has enjoyed it. Stay tuned to the channel. I've got videos coming very, very soon. I've got a Lucas Browne special tomorrow. I think I'm going to do an Amir Khan special tomorrow that the Khan army won't like. But yeah, let's get it out there tomorrow. So stay tuned to the channel, guys. Thanks to everyone for watching. Really appreciate everyone who commented. Escobeat, 70 minutes of quality. Thank you, sir. YouTube says good show. Davin says he gets the word out. Thank you, Davin. Rob says he didn't realise it was a call-in, mate. Joined late. Every show's a call-in these days, Rob. We're mixing it up. But yeah, next time, let's get you involved, definitely. Body shot hurts says Saunders is blowing hot garbage in the air. Terence Talbot says Khan is TBE. And on that note, thank you very, very much, guys. Cheers, Matt. Cheers, everyone. Have a good evening, and I hope to catch up with you all soon.